Good. All right. Okay, so okay, we're live.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the November 12th Yellow Springs Board of Education regular board meeting where we do the work each month that needs to be done. We continue to meet remotely for the obvious reasons, and I just want to thank people who were waiting to get in for their patience. We're running just a few minutes late because actually this is the first time since we've been doing these remote meetings that we had just a small technical glitch at the beginning. I think we've got that all sorted out, so we will proceed as usual. I want to remind people that even in the remote format, we have an opportunity in the board agenda for community comments, but to do so, you need to put the comments into the comment bar there on the YouTube channel that you're watching. We can then read those out. So if you have a comment that you'd like to make, now is the time to do it. And as you are doing that, I would like Tammy to call us to order, please.
Khan,
Yes.
Mayor Hemick,
Yes.
Ellison,
Yes.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Very good. And the first item on our agenda, 1.3, I need a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
All second.
Second.
Are there any edits, comments, corrections? And let me just say, folks, when the screen share is functioning like this, I can't see everybody on my screen, so you may need to flash one of those little icons or pop something into the chat to let me know that you want to speak, because I can only see about 4 of you. Hearing nothing about the minutes, let's call the vote on that, please.
Khan,
Yes.
Mayor Hemick,
Yes.
Ellison,
Yes.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner.
Do we get?
I think TJ's muted.
Oh, TJ's muted?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Excellent. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there. We're going to move on to section 2 of our agenda, communications and comments. Stephanie, do we have community comments that we'd like to enter into the public record?
There are none yet, but we do have a lag.
We do have a lag. Okay, so why don't we do what we've done in the past and move through the agenda? We'll come back to you to read those comments. So let's get to item 2.3, schools in action. And we do have something to discuss, and we're all very eager to hear this. So let's turn it over to Kayla Ross.
Hi, my name is Kayla Ross, and I'm going to be talking about my senior project. So in May of 2020, the world had been experiencing, as you all know, COVID-19, which is a pandemic for months. People were needing to wear face masks to protect themselves and others from spreading the disease. And this pandemic is currently ongoing, and the masks are needed to be worn by everyone for protection. In spring 2020, I understood that face masks were needed, but were very hard to find. I thought it would be a good idea if people could have reusable and washable face masks. I wanted to design some masks for students to wear to make the experience a little bit less stressful for them, because I know it is very hard. This has been a very hard times going through. So understand people need to purchase masks. I wanted to create a fundraiser to benefit the Y schools by selling school and Yellow Springs related masks. I researched and found a company based in Ohio that manufactures and prints washable face masks. The company allowed me to design the artwork for them to print on the masks with no minimum orders and no extra cost for color designs. It did not require any upfront cost for me or for the school. It assisted me in creating my masks websites, and it also handled all of the online sales, payments, and shipping. I designed various school-related artwork using graphic software. I had the company do mock-up mask samples of my designs to see which ones would look better and just kind of pick from those. I reached out to the school officials with my ideas and samples for approval, and then the school officials suggested I make the project my senior capstone project. I received feedback from school administration and teachers for additional design ideas and created those designs as well. The actions I took was I designed school-related masks based on school sports, organizations they offered, and causes, and one for a remembrance of Mr. Darrell, who died earlier on this year. I also designed Yellow Springs themed related masks, like for example, a couple of them were the Be Kind masks and the sunflower mask, because the sunflower field is very special to the Yellow Springs community, I think. And I upload the YS themed masks onto the website, which is provided to the right there. And then I also, to increase sales, I created a second website that had more general designs that featured masks based on occupation, sports, hobbies, themes, and designs. And that link is also below right there. To spread the word about my project, I created a Facebook page to market the masks and promote the website. And the links below right there. And I created business cards to distribute when people comment on my masks that my family and I might be wearing. I notified news media about my project and received coverage in the Dayton Daily News, Springfield News Sun, and the Yellow Springs News. I informed teachers, students, and coaches about my mask designs for the group and worked with them to create additional designs as well. Some changes ahead is I created 2 sizes of masks to appeal to more buyers, because some people were having problems with the smaller mask. They needed a bigger mask, as it depends on where your ears are, I guess, for those masks. I increased a variety of mask designs on both websites, had personalized labels added to each mask sold. So that included just my name, about like both my websites were on the stickers as well. And then I designed t-shirts to add to the websites, and I had created custom mask designs options to increase sales, so people would let me know what designs they wanted to see on my websites. I created those and worked with those people to create more masks designs. I added a gator style mask options to both websites, because some people like wearing those versus just the around the ears ones. And then I created a separate email address tied to my Facebook page, so those emails would just come right directly to me versus having to look through them through my school or my normal email. And then I added new personalized reusable water bottles to increase sales as well. And I also added a personalized cause mask for like Breast Cancer Awareness Month and Alzheimer's disease. Some success that I've had is I designed custom masks for 10 CPA firms that are distributed in 4 states. Designed custom masks for other schools and their sports teams as well. I sold and donated masks to the village of Yellow Springs for their distributions. And I designed custom masks for Opryland's professional golf school. And then designed custom masks for a national lending company. I also partnered with the Springfield Country Club to sell masks in their golf pro shop. I also partnered with Miami Valley Dance Center to sell masks for their students. I also designed custom masks for daycares, restaurants, hair salons, and the governor. I've now sold 750 masks and have donated $1,500 so far to the Yellow Springs School. Here's just some pictures of me, some of the newspaper articles I was in, and giving the Yellow Springs Village mask donation. And then the next few pictures is to the left is my business card. I had a photo shoot done, and that's one of my pictures of me in my masks with all the websites and stuff. And then those are also some Yellow Springs related masks, design mock-ups that I had. And then that is a picture of me wearing one of the t-shirts and have some designs of the mask on the board, and some of the water bottles and the gator style masks, as well as some more general and the governor's mask there. And then the next slide has the picture of me giving the check to Mr. Hattert, and then a t-shirt design, then some more general masks. So yeah.
Wow. So, Kayla, let me say that I have heard about this project, but I did not actually understand the extent of it. And this is really extraordinary.
Thank you.
Could you give us some sense of just how much time you have put on that? You started this really before you were a senior, right? I mean, you actually started your senior project in the summer.
Yes, I started about the end of March, I think, just when I was realizing just when we were getting low on supplies and just realizing that there was no mask. I know it's a hard time having me go out and find masks at the grocery store. So yeah, I started about late March.
Wow. Yeah. And how much do you work on this, each week?
Wow. It depends. It depends on the person. I know for it could be hours at a time on a day. I know with the hair salon that I was working with, she didn't like my first design, so I had to go back and redo it and just keep emailing, and just depends on the person responses. But probably at least, I don't know, maybe 10 hours a week. It just depends.
Wow. That's fantastic. We are tremendously grateful for the donation that you made, because that's really very generous of you. But the work here is so impressive, and your initiative on this is so impressive. Thank you so much for doing this and really exemplifying what a fantastic senior project can really be. I'd love to turn this over to other board members if they want to ask some questions or follow up.
Yeah, I'd love to. This is great, Kayla. Thank you. And very, very impressive. I guess I'm wondering, sort of a huge project, lots of time and energy, sort of what is your takeaway? What's the experience been for you overall?
I was actually kind of surprised how big it blew up. I was not expecting to get that much, even just with the newspapers and stuff, I was not expecting any of that. I thought it was just going to be a little bit of project, give some money here and there to some clubs and organizations who got the mask. I did not expect to get that much money. It's been really fun. I mean, just working and meeting new, different people every day, and just being able to just design and do something that I love to do, just be able to have all these designs for those people, and just, yeah, I just love doing it.
How available are these masks now? Because I'm building a collection, and there's a couple I'd like to.
Yeah, you can order them anytime you want. They're all available. I am going to be designing some new ones for the holidays, hopefully sometime soon. So hopefully Christmas and possibly Thanksgiving. I can probably design some more for that.
Put me down for the 2021 star. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, do that one.
That's a good. That's a good one.
Is one of my favorite ones.
Well, I just love that you, took initiative about a need in the community and really, larger than our community. I work in public health, and masks have only become shown to be more and more important over time. And I do think people want to have fun with it. I mean, it's one thing to just find the box of the disposable blue ones, but it's really nice to have some that are washable, reusable. You feel like you're being more responsible with the reusing, but you also can have fun with it. And at a time when you're not wearing the mask because it's for a fun reason, you're kind of giving some joy in there. And I definitely think that's wonderful. And I was really impressed to find out when I did go on your website earlier, last night at first, to learn about how much you've branched out from the school focused ones. That's really impressive. So thanks very much.
Another question. Anything other than mask? Or do you have any other plans that, since you weren't thinking mask, now that you have, is there other ideas you're now thinking about?
Well, I have been doing I've been adding water bottle designs and stuff, as well as t-shirts. And then we are kind of working on license plates type of things around license plate. that seems to be popular in this day and age with different stuff. So that's a couple other things that I've been working on besides math.
Yeah,
Very
Yeah.
awesome.
yeah. That's terrific. Anybody else?
No, just bravo.
Yeah, exactly. Kayla, thank you so much. Thank you for the project, but also thank you for this presentation. I know you have other things you'd like to do on a Thursday evening than to come to a board meeting. We really appreciate getting this because, like I said, I knew about this project. I'd heard about it. I'd heard people talking about it. But this really gives me a sense of how extensive the project has become and you know, just how thoughtful you've been about working through this as it's gone along. So thank you so much for coming this evening and giving us this this presentation.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Board President, I would just like to thank Kayla. Kayla, thank you on behalf of the schools. This is pretty amazing. I have my own collection of Kayla Ross masks, and they're great. and you know, later on in this meeting, there's a part of the agenda where I will formally honor you and your generous donation. But I just want to make sure you hear it from me. Thank you so much. What a tremendous senior project. We're so proud of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here,
for having
here. And you are not obligated to stick around for the rest of this meeting. You're welcome to, but thank you again so much for this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
So we'll move now to item 2.4, our administrative reports this evening. And why don't we start with Mr. Haddard over at the high school?
All right, thank you. So a couple things to report on. Each year, we really try to focus on the transition into our school. So whether that be our 7th graders transitioning from Mills Lawn and then also our new students transitioning in. And in the remote environment, it's been, you know, a unique challenge. But on October 26th, thanks to the generous donation from Young's, we were able to deliver ice cream to every new student in our buildings, every student new to our district. And we went out and we mapped it out and drove and delivered and stopped and had porch conversations with new students and parents. And, you know, for them, it was their first, I think, real contact from somebody at the school, an in-person contact. So it was really great just opening those lines of communication, and nothing says welcome like ice cream. So we did that, and then at lunch, we scheduled an ice cream social where the students were able to get together and meet their fellow new students. In a normal year, we do luncheons each quarter with our new students just so that they can talk about their experience and we can get feedback. So it's been a little harder to do that in this setting, but that was a fun day to get to meet students and just have them start to feel more connected back to our schools. So that was organized. I want to recognize Ms. Morano for organizing that, and she did the bulk of the deliveries, and then Mr. McCoy and I each took some of the different cities for our open enrollment students so that we were able to get to each household. Our fall sports seasons are now over, so we weathered the COVID and all the changes that were necessary with COVID. And it was really nice. It's nice to be in a community that takes health and safety so seriously. So our students followed protocols throughout the season, our coaches did, and it allowed us, I think, to have a really great season and a great experience for our students. So I want to recognize a couple of groups. The first one is our middle school volleyball team. They were the Metro Buckeye Conference champions this year. So I was trying to go back through my memory, and I do not recall a time that our middle school won a volleyball conference championship. So we've had our high school teams have won a couple times, but I do not recall a time that our middle school won the conference. So that was exciting. And then Cheyenne Sundell Turner, another very successful season in cross country. I narrowly missed qualifying for state. I believe she finished 20th in the top 16, went on to state, if I'm correct. So a great season for her. And you know, she's we have a lot of quality young people but she is one that I see out running all the time. So when you think about somebody truly earning something, she puts in the time and she puts in the effort and the dedication. So kudos to her for another great season. And, she's still very young, so she still has 2 years of cross country. So next year I look forward to making the trip and watching her compete at state. So, and then lastly, I want to point out our boys soccer. So Jeff Irick, who's on here, I think he and Ben worked together with some different scheduling strategy this year, where we schedule some more difficult teams throughout the season to give our students, our student athletes, exposure to more challenging teams. And the goal behind that was to build towards the tournament. So this year we had a great tournament run. We won our first game convincingly, I believe 7-1. And then the second game actually got canceled because the opposing team had COVID. And then we played Miami East in the third game and beat them 4-1. And then we ran into Cincinnati Marymount, who was the number 1 team in the state, 17-0. It was terrible conditions, rain, windy, cold. And Marymount came out and really dominated the ball the first half, had a lot of shots on goal. And we were only down 4-0 at halftime. And I say only because they really dominated that much in the first half. And our boys came out the second half, and it was just like a light switch was flipped on. And we took control. We dominated the ball. We scored 3 goals with maybe 15 minutes left. We scored our first goal. And then we just got momentum, and we fought back. And I think with 6 minutes left, we scored our third goal, and we were down 4-3. And we were the team getting the shots on goal. And then with 2 minutes left, Caden had a shot on goal that hit off the crossbar and bounced out instead of bouncing in. So we were that close to tying, the number 1 team in the state. So we're still young. We're playing a lot of sophomores. We're going to lose a couple of key seniors who really contributed. But I think there are a lot of fun days ahead. So, but to all of our student athletes, first and foremost, I want to thank them for following our safety guidelines so that we could have a season and paving the way for a safe winter season. And now we're on to the winter season. So we've started with basketball, cheerleading, and bowling. Those have all started. Practices have started. We are not hosting swimming this year. So unfortunately, due to the lack of access to the pool, we weren't able to offer that this year. So we're hoping to be able to get beyond this pandemic and be able to offer that again next year. So the last thing I want to share with the board are just some examples of the really great things that our teachers are doing. So I've done all of my walkthroughs. So I've sat in on all of our teachers' classes, and I'm comfortable saying that I am the worst Zoom user in our building now. So watching how our teachers are navigating the online environment and the number of different things that they have going on. And when you sit in there as an observer, it feels like they've been doing it their whole careers. So it's seamless. The transitions are seamless. And I think more so, the thing that's more powerful to me is just how they've embraced this change. So we have teachers who have been teaching for 20, 25, 30 years who are leading the way with technology, with new technology, who are being innovative, who are seeking out new opportunities. So I want to share with you a couple of examples of things that we've done in the past and how we're doing them now, so that you can get a sense of what this looks like in the remote environment. So one of the big pieces with project-based learning is giving and receiving feedback. So we oftentimes do this through gallery walks, where the students' work will be up and our students will be able to walk around the classroom, look at the work, and offer critical feedback of the work, asking those challenging questions that make the work creator reflect on their own practices, and then also even just giving ideas of, have you considered this? And the first picture that you see there, that's a new software that we've been using a lot this year called Jamboard, and it's by Google. But basically, it's kind of like Google Slides, but anybody can then join and put Post-it notes on. So in an old gallery walk, as soon as you walk away, the Post-it notes start falling off. In this, once those Post-it notes go on, they can be edited, they can be moved, they can be grouped. So this is an example where Mr. McCoy's class, they're talking about design, and they're learning new technology. So what you see there is the design for a promo for the Dracula show that our students are creating. So he worked with Ms. Farah-Knapp to get the details of what needed to be on there. And then he's taught the students the design elements, and then taught them tech tools of how to remove backgrounds and how to change coloring and different things like that. And then you can see the feedback that the students gave. The second piece that you see, this is from Mr. Mayer's class. With not playing in person, it's hard for a teacher to see if students are continuing to grow on their instruments. And this is a piece that I think we will continue to use well after the pandemic. And the first two measures that you see there, that's a student playing an arrangement that Mr. Mayer's loaded in, and the green notes are indicating that the student hit the right note on key at the right time. And then when you see a yellow, that's just indicating that it's the right note, but it was played off time. And then when you scroll down towards the bottom, that's a student that was having more trouble with that. So you see the red notes instead of the green notes. And basically what this is the student playing, and their Chromebook is recording what they're playing, and it's measuring how well they're playing. So, and it creates a recording and sends it to Mr. Mayer automatically. So, in the past, it's something where Mr. Mayer could assign students to practice at home, but he had no way of really telling if they were actually practicing, and no way of getting a glimpse into the quality of that practice. So this tool now allows him to see, yes, that they are practicing, and he can see exactly how well they're doing. And for the kids, they're getting instant feedback. So they can play over and over again to really dial in their timing. So that's just really a neat tool that we're using for the first time this year. And then the last piece I'm sharing here, this is really, it's been a fun piece culturally in our building. So we moved to Aubrey this year, and when I click into Aubrey, I can see all of the classes, and this is what I see on my end. So I get to see the Bitmoji classrooms for all of our teachers. And it's really been a fun way to see kind of our teachers' presentation of themselves to their students and kind of how they're building that community. But I chose this one because it's Miss Nickel, and I just want to highlight the work that she's doing this year. So Miss Nickel, I believe, is planning to retire at the end of this year, and she easily could have kind of written off this year, unfortunately, but she's chosen not to. And every time I talk to kids, I always ask them, who is doing a really great job that we could have other teachers kind of model their format, their classes after. And every student I've talked to has indicated that it's been Miss Nickel. So that's really powerful for me to see a teacher taking so much pride in her craft and learning new technology. And she was talking about how much time she spent on YouTube learning how to do these new things. So it's just kudos to her in her effort to continue to evolve and grow.
Jack, when you're on a Zoom meeting with me, you are the second worst user of this technology. So I'm just dazzled by all of this. This is, the music software, it's really quite remarkable. And let me just echo, thank you so much to the teachers who are gearing up or have geared up to make this stuff work for our kids under this environment. Thank you so much for that. Questions or additional comments for Jack?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, that's all amazing, and it's all a lot of go out there and learn this thing, because we have to make this work. But what really struck me was the creative approach to continuing the gallery walk and the utilization of, I guess you called it Jamboard, but I know there's multiple versions of that. And I would just like to say, I'm 56 years old, and at work just in the last few weeks, I started using a tool like that. We use Miro. There's a million of them now, because we're trying to collaborate from separate locations. And I mean, it blew my mind and it's really cool, but wow, what if I had learned that years and years ago, pretty, in school. So very, very cool.
I just really appreciate hearing about this, Jack, and I'm excited that, to hear about staff and faculty's investment and so forth. And want to commend everybody for that, but it's really exciting to have you report about it so that we get a better sense and a better feel of what's going on in the building on a day-to-day basis, because I know it's been extremely challenging, but it's also wonderful to see the evolution of this and having it sort of out here for us to really see and hear about. So appreciate you taking the time and the detail to report about that.
Anyone else?
Yeah. So I just wanted to say I appreciate everything that the teachers and the staff have been doing as a parent of three, and each of my kids is so different in how they learn and how they've been tolerant of this new environment. Just the thought that's going into connecting with the students has been amazing. I mean, even this week, my kid was excited about my boy was excited about doing some RC car racing. So kind of doing some socially distanced socializing, at school on a little part-time basis, but just the creativity that's going into it, that to try to reach out and connect with all the kids, regardless of how they are tolerating this new environment is just really spectacular. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Great. Michelle, let's hear about Mills Lawn.
Okay. So we are also going strong with the virtual, but we started this was our first week of small group sessions that came into the building. We've had a lot of kids experiencing just different things. Some of them most of them they're okay with virtual. The smaller ones, it's a little bit of a struggle, but they're still craving that in-person touch, and even the ones who think they don't need that in-person touch, we're finding that they're not as savvy as maybe they think they are. Well, actually, I take that back. Some of them are really savvy. I've got some stories, but not for a board meeting. And so we so what we did was we figured out a way to both the high school and Mills Lawn. We figured out ways to incorporate ways for small group sessions to begin. At Mills Lawn, we were able to basically invite probably around 180 kids, and is what we estimate. They did not all say yes. Not everybody said, but we estimated about 75% of them showed up. Small group, socially distanced, to come in for small periods of time, on Wednesdays, and also, some of them come on other days, an afternoon here and a morning here, and it's just made such a difference and morale for the teachers. After yesterday, we walked around. That was the first time, I guess you could call it a large group, but they were little tiny. I mean, some teachers had 2, some teachers had 3, but they were the kids were walking in, and parents were snapping pictures because it was like the first day of school. I walked the kindergarten down to his first grade class, and he said, I introduced myself, and he told me his full name, middle and last, and then proceeded to tell me how excited he was to be here because he'd never been able to be here before. He said the word excited like 5 times in the 50-yard walk from the door to his teacher's classroom. And it was a really great day. So we're really excited to be able to do it. And I think we're gonna, even in this time of socially distanced learning, I think that it's going to be really great to be able to have the groups in, and the teachers were really excited, and it went really well. We have our periodic, our material pickup, which allows students to come in and get there and get things that they might need, consumables. For example, there's a science lab that 5th grade is doing, and they needed all the materials. So Miss Barclay bagged it all up they're having, well, actually that's next week. She's having one next week, but things like that. When there's when Miss Reichert has new materials for them and for them to be a unit in music, they might need to pick up their scarves, they might need to pick up their drums, they might need to pick up their percussion instruments. So the material pickup comes in, and the kids are able to come in for a short while, touch base with the teachers, ask questions, return things, and it's been really, really great. The thing that we're most excited about right now is the Sphinx Virtuoso virtual residency. And they reached out earlier than year, and they're working with Ms. Reichert and Mr. Mayer. And they are a professional orchestra that's committed to activating to activate activities that reach a broad spectrum of students and audiences. They're going to do a kickoff in January, where there's going to be a special private concert just for Mills Lawn and the high school. And it's going to be pre-recorded, and there'll be a private link for the kids to be able to get in. They generally it's going to be about 4 to 6 weeks of different panel discussions, live discussions, pre-recorded discussions. They're trying to get together a panel discussion where it just touches different sections of the orchestra and music and creativity. And we're really excited to be able to take part in it. Like I said, the first touch is in January, and there'll be 4 more virtual meets over the period of the program. So that's gearing up, and we're really excited about that.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you for that update in particular. I'd heard a rumor about the Sphinx, so I'm really glad to hear the details, because I think that's going to be wonderful, and it will certainly give us some things to look forward to in the new year. That's marvelous. And thank you for the story about the kindergartners, because yes, actually seeing them in person does make an enormous difference. So much appreciate that. Other questions or comments for Michelle about Mills Lawn? Well, thank you, Michelle, and thank all the faculty as well in Mills Lawn for the hard work that they've been doing.
Okay.
Donna?
Well, I'm sorry, I couldn't get my unmute to unmute. I just also wanted to say thanks to Michelle, and especially thinking about that population of the littler kids who especially had reported missing each other. It's just nice what you're doing. And hopefully everybody can stay safe while we're doing it. It sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wonderful, yes. So, okay, I don't see Donna, but she may not just be on my screen.
I can see you.
Oh, good. There you are. So disembodied. Go ahead.
All right. I just have one thing to tell you about tonight, and it is I wanted to highlight that Yellow Springs Schools has joined several Greene County schools and Greene County first responders in the Handle with Care program. There was a kickoff the end of October. It was a virtual kickoff. And a lot of representatives from Greene County Sheriff's Department, YSPD, Miami Valley Fire and Rescue, other area first responders, and other area Greene County school districts. I want to say just about all the school districts are involved. And then, of course, Greene County Career Center and the Greene County Learning Center, because they have students, are also involved. And what the Handle with Care program is a relatively, it sounds very simple, but it can really have a significant impact for collaboration that will support students who've had any kind of trauma. Sometimes kids will have a trauma that a school might not find out about, a personal trauma within their family that, wants to remain confidential. And this protects their confidentiality while still letting that collaboration between the first responders and the school districts allow the schools to know that something, that we might have a student who experienced some trauma. None of the details of the student or family situation is shared, but there's a confidential contact. So say there was a death in the family, or there was a car accident, or a house fire, a domestic violence, something like that. What maybe a ambulance worker or firefighter or policeman might do is, if they see a child on the scene, they would let the school district contact know that pretty much the message is this student, needs handled with care. And so then the contact within the school lets the counselors know and the principal, and then we can alert the staff to basically handle with care, which means monitor this student, keep an eye out if they are showing signs of trauma. Maybe they need a break that day. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they have a huge test that day, and maybe it's that day that they can go ahead and not take the test and do a makeup the next day. We don't need to know what it is. We just need to watch to see if there's some signs. So along with that, there's training both for first responders and for school personnel, teachers, administrators, aides, paraprofessionals, any of the folks that are, be working, classified staff that would be working with kids, to just have an idea of what to look for, because kids show trauma in different ways. And, some ideas of what we can do to subtly just support that student and give them options to talk if they need to, or, and then if we find more, the family decides to share more, or the student needs to talk more, then we can offer more supports. And beyond that, if the student is needing more support and we find out more, then through a collaboration with the Greene County Juvenile Court System, we can make a referral for additional counseling assistance and even case management for that family so they can get support. So this was a program that started in 2012 in, I think, West Virginia, and it spread to several other states, and it's been very successful. I think the other component is doing some collaboration with the first responders, so kids aren't afraid and that they will talk with first responders. So there's some collaborative activities to have maybe fire and police come into the school and be seen as helpful, supportive, so kids aren't afraid and will talk to those first responders. And so that is basically the Handle with Care program. And our staff will be getting some training. We're going to wait and hear. We don't have that schedule yet. It's brief training, but I think it would, it'll be good for our staff to be able to do that. And it'll be a good service for our kids.
That's really interesting. And I'm really pleased to hear that we're doing this. Can you give us a sense of how many staff in each of the buildings would wind up with this training? Because I assume not everybody's going to get it, but
it's a brief training. I forget the exact time for staff. I want to say it's probably like 2 30-minute sessions. And then some other tips and literature is available for them as reference. And then definitely for classified staff, there's, I think, probably 2 or 3 15-minute trainings. I don't have the exact times on those, but they're relatively brief. And like I said at the beginning, it's a simple collaboration. It's not a complex thing, but it keeps it focused, on the confidentiality and offering the support and not muddying it, trying to get into everything else. It's just giving those paths to support when they're needed.
Great. Thank you. Other questions about that from anybody? Okay. Well, yes, again, thank you very much, Donna, and I'm pleased that we're going to be engaging with this in the near future. Before we move on to item 3 in our agenda, I'm going to turn now either to Stephanie or to Terry, because I do believe we have some community comments that have now come in after the lag, and so maybe this is the right time in the agenda to enter those into the record.
Yeah, we do have community comments, but also in administrative reports is the fourth one, which is on our outdoor facilities, and our
Oh, I'm sorry.
AD, Jeff Irick, will be presenting that.
I
So
apologize. Yep.
that's okay. I'm gonna, Jeff, I'm gonna play the video, and then when I'm done, he can maybe answer any questions that you have. So
Yeah, and I'm sorry. And then we'll do the comments after that. Jeff, many apologies. Go ahead.
No worries.
Wow.
So pretty exciting, huh? I'll
Yes,
let Jeff
indeed.
answer your questions.
Yeah, really excited to announce, obviously the start of the track project. And I just really want to give you a quick update. We started October 26th with the intent to excavate the original track surface, mill down a couple inches, remove the long jump pit, relocate the long jump pit, relocate the pole vault, relocate the shot put, remove the scoreboard, soccer goals, and correct any drainage issues that we had. And excitingly, our plan was to try to be done right before Thanksgiving. Well, the Vasco, our partnership with SHP Sportswork Design and Vasco, we were able to, they finally got the asphalt completed yesterday. They're doing final grading, and we'll plant grass seed next week. So that'll complete our first phase of this project due to timing. Our second phase of this project we'll start in the spring of 2021, where we'll apply the polyurethane top surface on the oval track and all the field event areas. And then we should be ready to go, hopefully after a cure time of 28 days. I'm hoping to open the track up by May 1st of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, very excited.
That's fantastic. So it is conceivable we could have some of our students running on that track before the end of the school year.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
Does phase one cover all of the drainage issue portion of it?
That it does, yes.
And what, unless it's just completely not interesting to talk about. I mean, I love seeing that the video is great and you see mostly the surface stuff. What was involved with the drainage in the end?
Doing a little bit more study on the original drainage. It was clay pipes. There were a couple areas that had failed. So we removed those pipes and put new up-to-date pipes in, created a good sub base, more asphalt, and shored it up so it could last hopefully for another 25, 30 years. So
great. Thank you.
Yep.
Yep. And all the field events are now, they meet standards for OHSAA.
Right.
So we can open up for a little bigger events as hopefully we can this next spring and maybe generate additional revenue to help offset some of this.
Great.
So can I ask a question about the polyurethane?
Yeah.
I know when we were doing the original research and John Gudgel and Peter Eyrick had sent us some quotes on different surface coatings, and so there was a pretty big variance in the number of years it would last, right? Anywhere from about 10 years to much longer. Do we settle on a particular one, and why, and how long do we expect the new surface to last?
Yeah, there's the lowest grade is like a vinyl type surface. And then there's a synthetic that is the highest grade, and that polyurethane runs in the middle. So we're hoping for, again, I can't predict the future, but longer than the 10 years that we had in this previous layer of track surface.
No, that's fantastic then. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to point that out because honestly, for a lot of people, I'm almost one of them. A lot of us still thought of that as like that's the new track surface. And then when it started like coming off every time kids were running on it, we're like, no, but that's new. And then you really had to look back. No, when was that project? How long was it supposed to last? So this is really big. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and Jeff, thank you as well for mentioning the field event stuff, because folks may or may not know that our field events in the old configuration did not meet new standards, and in some cases were just maybe a tiny bit dangerous for the long jump, the shot put, and whatnot. So it's good to get that sorted out as well as the track surface, doing it all at the same time.
Yeah, and as you can see on the video, the width of the runways are 6 foot, so they plenty wide, concrete based, and should last for a very long time. The long jump pits are 27 feet long, so they meet the standards, so we can have our kids jump in that sand safely.
Yep.
So yeah, a lot of good things that we've done for this project.
Outstanding, and thank you for being our representative as the sort of overseer of this work. We really appreciate that.
And thank all of you for approving this and allowing this for us to have a safe environment for our student athletes, our community, and our families to be able to utilize this area.
Yeah, it will be great, especially once we hit the summertime, for community people to be out there walking that track or even running it for those that do that. That'll be a perfect thing to start off the spring and summer with. So
absolutely.
Well, thanks.
I know one 15-year-old girl who's waiting to get in the league.
Sure.
True enough. Okay, well, thank you, Jeff. And now, Terry, I will turn this over to you to go back to 2.2 on our agenda to read our community comments.
Okay, I will do so. There are 3, so I'm going to read them as written. One is from Dr. Terry Smith. I'm part of a citizens group who support a long-term vision for the community to retain its unique character and quality of life. Being a lifelong educator, elementary teacher, college professor in teacher education, and now online teacher for National Geographic Education, I'm committed to quality education at every level. We recognize the challenges the school board has, and we applaud you all for your tireless attention to the education needs of Yellow Springs. We apologize if our petition actions before consulting the school board have offended any school board members. We were focused on the comprehensive land use plan and understood that the village council was ready to vote on it, and we were not intentionally trying to do an end run around the school board. We believe a vision of success for public education and a quality of life vision are both possible, and we want to work together for this mutually beneficial outcome. A true vision for the village places a high priority on the education of our children. We need to provide quality teachers and facilities. A couple of group members, including Councilmember Curlis, met recently with Dr. Holden and came away with a better understanding of the concerns of the board regarding much needed improvements to our school. We understand that you are considering selling Mills Lawn to raise funds in combination with a new levy, and we are hoping that can be done in a way to make this green space a part of the village. We would like to meet to learn more about plans under consideration, including timelines. For the future vitality of the village, we understand that having green space in the downtown area for public use and the variety of festivals and events that bring visitors here is critical. Green space is also well recognized as a critical element of good community design. Our group has confirmed through our petition, which was limited by time and COVID, that there is broad support across Yellow Springs for preserving Mills Lawn as a public green space. So these are our thoughts, and we genuinely would like to hear your thoughts. I am asking tonight for your feedback. Is it possible that we can together figure out a way to preserve the two things of highest value to potential incomers as well as current residents? Quality of life and education. How can we proceed as involved citizens? We want to work together for this mutually beneficial outcome. Thank you. The second is from Michael Slaughter. The Slaughter family at 212 Elm Street have been residents of this community for at least 50 years. We have participated in the village school system starting in the late 60s. My sister Cecily and I attended Mills Lawn and graduated from Yellow Springs High School. Lillian, our mother, taught at Mills Lawn for many years. My family was attracted to this community due to the exceptional schools and its diverse community. My goal is to keep Yellow Springs the vibrant destination it currently reflects. Our recent petition effort was not intended to alienate the school board. The process was escalated due to some recent discoveries related to the comprehensive land use plan. Our mission is to collaborate with the board to save the Mills Lawn green space and offer a solution that satisfies all segments of the community. Thank you. And the third and final comment. Hi, my name is Maria Booth. I am a parent of two Yellow Springs High School students who have been attending since kindergarten, starting at Mills Lawn. Our family has fond memories of enjoying numerous community events at this green space, such as Art on the Lawn, Book Fair, and the Yellow Springs Street Fairs. Our kids grew up playing on the Mills Lawn playground and have enjoyed countless recesses and weekends playing on the playground when they attended Mills Lawn Elementary. I have observed it being increasingly used by many others for multiple outdoor activities since the pandemic started. I can't count the number of times my son has gone to the soccer wall there to kick soccer balls to practice his skills. There is nothing more challenging than trying to meet all the needs of the citizens and parents, educational requirements, especially during a pandemic, and at the same time provide high quality physical facilities for our students and teachers. I have faith that working together, the citizens of Yellow Springs will be supportive and most certainly applaud the work of a school board that is capable of meeting educational needs as well as collaborating with efforts to preserve the unique quality and character enjoyed by our citizens and those that are attracted to our village because of its unique charm. The Mills Lawn green space is a key part of our village's unique charm, and it would be sad to lose this vital green space that has been used by countless generations as a park. Thank you. So I will say those are the only comments that I have. In my update later, I will talk about my meeting and clarify some things, but I appreciate the comments. You're muted, President.
There we go. Sorry. Thank you for those comments. It's a very awkward way to have to do this with these virtual meetings, and I really appreciate the three of you for taking the time to type those comments out so that we could post them and then make them public. rather than the usual way in front of everybody in the microphone in our meeting room. Okay. So yes, and as you said, Terry, you'll talk about a little bit more when we get to your part of the agenda. But for the time being, let's move on now to item number 3, the financial report and our treasurer.
Good evening. This report is as of the end of October of 2020. And you can see the first spreadsheet there is for the cash flow. And that has the 4 months actual, and then the remainder is projected. And then if you could go to the next one, Terry. And then we just have the month of October, budget versus actual for the general fund. And then on the next page, we have 4 months of actual versus budget. And on this, you can see that the revenue is coming in under projections, and that's basically the majority of it is the general property tax, but it's also in some other categories. And then we're also under projections on the expenditure side, which is a good place to be. And that's around $141,000 at this point in time. And then the next page is the comparison of the 4 months to the yearly budget. And then you can go down, Terry, and to the next page. And then we have where the money comes from. And this percentage pretty much is consistent from year to year. And that just details that we get most of our money from real estate tax. And then we also have income tax and some state foundation monies. And then also, where does the money go? The majority of it goes to salaries and benefits because we're a service organization. And then also, the next graph shows percentage that we've received in the revenues. Same information, just a different format. And once again, we're trending under projections. And then also the percentage that we spent on expenditures. And once again, we're trending under projections there. And then we have the reconciliation. And we ended the month with a little bit over $7 million in the bank, and that's all funds. And then the remaining pages are the individual fund balances.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and we have a check, the outstanding check register. And then we also have individual fund balances. And that's it. That concludes my report.
Questions about that report?
No, just thanks for juggling all the alternate timing of things the last few months.
Yeah, Tammy, thank you once again. It's, you know, your presentations are always so clear and concise. So I much appreciate that. Let's then move to item 4, which is the financial portion of our consent calendar. This is items 4.1 through 4.6. I need a motion for that, please.
So, second.
Okay.
Moved. I thought.
What do you need to pull out for us, Tammy?
Well, first of all, I want to talk about the appropriation changes. And these are just pretty standard. You know, just we received grants. We have we're budgeting for the budget and purpose statements. I would like to point out that the student wellness monies went down this year. It was one of those quiet things where we thought we were going to get a certain dollar amount last year. And then we ended up getting about the same amount that we received in the previous year, last year. And then the next one is the 5-year forecast. And Terry, if you could click on there and then click on, not that one, but the other one. It's a short presentation. And it just goes over the highlights of the 5-year forecast.
Uh-huh.
And.
Yep, Lord.
Uh-oh. Is it in Keen? I'm on my Mac here.
Okay, it's a PowerPoint.
Here we go.
There we go.
All right, let me just see how to get it, let it
Well,
load, and then I'll get it maybe full screen.
Okay.
Play, how about that? How's it? Yay!
Yay, there you go. Okay. So this is the 5-year forecast for the general fund for fiscal year 21. And you can click on the next page.
Oh, sorry.
So basically, we're funded with property tax, income taxes, and then we also have some money from the state foundation formula and then other local monies. So I have the history of the real estate tax and how much has increased in previous years. And it's projected to increase in fiscal year 21. However, we're running behind about 3.76% behind in the projections. And I'm anticipating that some of that is delinquencies that will be reported in the next collection. But then also I'm concerned that some of this is due to the pandemic and people are not able to pay their property taxes. And then we are going through a reevaluation. I think everybody's probably gotten their notices in the mail, and that's going to happen in tax year 20 for tax year 21. And then we also have income tax, and that's where we've seen the biggest decline so far. Last year it decreased by $77,000, and in fiscal year 21 is projected to decrease by another $156,000. We did recover somewhat from the late filing deadline, but not all the way to what we had received in the previous year. So that's in future years, that's just flat in the projections. And then state funding. Our state funding was cut in last year in fiscal year 20, and it remains at the same level for fiscal year 21. And we're going to, I shouldn't say we, but the state legislature in the spring is going to start talking about the funding for the next 2-year cycle, the biennium. So, we're waiting to see what happens with that. And then our types of levies, we have operating levies. We're at the 20 mil floor for our residential and agricultural, but we're not for our commercial and industrial. We have emergency levies that will be coming up for renewal in a couple of years. We also have our income tax levy. We have a PI levy, and then also another levy that sometimes we don't have, but other districts have, is a combination bond issue and operating levy. And as I said, our levies are going to come up for renewal. They're going to expire on December 31st of 2024. So we'll have to start thinking about how soon we want to renew those and if we want to convert those to a substitute emergency levy. And what a substitute emergency levy does is it captures your new growth. So for example, if you have some new subdivisions coming in, it would capture that growth on that, that valuation. We also have a PI levy that expires on December of 2022. So that's just a couple years. That'll be here quicker than we realize. And it generates $142,000. So we'll need to determine if we renew for the same time period or longer. And then we also have a bond levy, and that's 2.1 mils. That expires in 2026. And I currently have an opportunity for refunding. And that is, I believe that would save us approximately $1 million. So I'm at the very initial stages of that. So as that proceeds down the path, obviously I'll come to the board for approvals in order to do that. And then this just lists out our levies in a chart. And then for our other local revenue includes tuition, open enrollment, investment earnings, which is significantly decreased. And for each open enrollment student, we receive $6,020. And this is a graph of our selected revenue. So you can see that the majority of our revenue comes from the property tax, and then it's the income tax, and then we have state funding, and then open enrollment, we receive around $1 million for that every year. And once again, where does the money come from? And most of it is from the real estate tax and the income tax. And then on the expenditure side, some of the major assumptions are we had step increases for staff. They're built into this forecast for each year. In fiscal year 21 and 22, we gave a 1% base salary increase to all staff, and that's also built in for future years, even though we have not negotiated that. Basically, it's a placeholder for that. Future years assumes level of staffing remains stable. And as for the fringe benefits, it includes a 3% increase in the medical insurance premiums for fiscal year 21 and a 7.5% increase in future years. And I just want to point out that the staff made changes to the medical insurance in this fiscal year. So rather than having a 7.5% increase in the premium, we have a 3% increase in the premium. And then once again, where does the money go? Salaries and benefits, because we're a service organization. And then how do the revenues compare to expenditures? And in fiscal year 2020, you can see where those two lines intersect. And basically, that's where we ended the year with about, how do I want to say, positive spending of $2,323. And what I mean by that is that we were able to spend about $2,300 less than what we took in. And then as you can see in future years, that gap widens. And that's what I call deficit spending. We still have a positive cash balance, but we're spending into that cash balance. And the goal is always to, actually the goal is to have more revenue than expenditures, or at the very least to keep them the same. So, you know, once again, we're going to be looking at our expenditures and see what we can do to save money wherever we can. And then another graph as to how the revenues compare to expenditures. And you really can't see anything for fiscal year 2020 because that was almost zero. But as you can see in future years, once again, we're deficit spending.
Yeah.
And then what's the effect on the cash balance? And this shows our ending cash balance. And it was at an all-time high in fiscal year 2018. And then we've just slowly spent into it in fiscal year 19 and 20. And then we're spending into it, we're projected to spend into it more in 21 and 22 and 23. And then in fiscal year 24, as of right now, we're projected to have a negative balance. So at the end of fiscal year 2024, we're projected to have a negative balance of around $74,000. And that also coincides with our levy renewals in December 2024. So, you know, we have several years to plan and to avoid this negative cash balance. And that concludes my presentation on the forecast.
Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, this is the kind of, those are the kinds of graphs the board loses a certain amount of sleep over when we see them. You're right that we have some time to plan for this, but you're also right, this will sneak up on us faster than we anticipate. And so, you know, I guess I just want to look forward to your leadership on how we plan to make sure to get those two graph lines closer together. Are there other questions for Tammy about the 5-year that we have to approve? Tammy, I wonder if you could also at some point, if you'd be comfortable with this, I think those slides again are so clear and make things so easy to understand. It would be terrific to have them up on our district website for people to refer to in the future. Again, if you're comfortable with that, I think that would be a terrific thing to do.
Yeah, I can work with Stephanie on getting that on the website. That's not a problem.
Great.
So I'll continue on down the list.
Yep.
We also have a resolution to purchase a bus. We are in dire need of a regular ed bus, and it's built into the PI budget. So we're asking for approval on that. We'll be going through what we call the EPC. They will advertise and receive the bids on our behalf, and then we just go and we pick out the bus and put the purchase order in and have a bus delivered probably in the middle of the summer next year. And then we also have the Section 125 flexible benefit plan. And these are changes to our plan year. We also have approval of attached budget and purpose statements. And then we also have approval of outdoor facilities alternate bids. And I just want to highlight on this, we accepted the base bid, and now we're accepting these alternates. And the total of all these alternates are another $47,000. Our base bid that we accepted was a little over $343,000. And then we're looking at the next board meeting, and we're still working out some details to accept an alternate for about $40,000 for a fence. So by the time we get through all that, that's around $430,000 that we will have spent on the track. And as you remember, we borrowed $700,000, and that will leave about $269,000 out of that $700,000 for the building of the concession building. So we are working with SHP for fundraising, and they have a fundraising expert on their staff, and he's going to be helping us put some pamphlets and brochures together and a plan together. And once that happens, that's going to be, I think, at the end of next week. And then our athletic director, Jeff, is going to run with that program once he receives all the pamphlets, and it will detail out what we're looking for in donations. Terry, do you want to add anything?
Yes. So this is honestly one of the benefits of using the firm that we're using, and that we get support because, you know, we're small, and so we don't always have the capacity to do all of this. But we're working on ways to allow donors to donate money to outdoor facilities specifically, and then get recognition for that right now. And this is very temporary. We're thinking of an honor wall. But the foundation, Yellow Springs Community Foundation, has been generous and is working with us as the pass-through. So you can click, when you go to our website and you click on the paw print that says donate now, you get 4 Yellow Springs options. And one of those is donate for the outdoor facilities. And then Jeff and John Gudgel have also been doing a good job about really thinking strategically for things that weren't in the scope of work for the track, such as the scoreboard, etc.
Great. Are there other questions before we take the vote on these 6 items? Hearing none, let's call the roll then, please.
Mayor Hemick,
Yes.
Ellison,
Yes.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Khan.
Yes. And again, thank you for all of that hard work, Tammy. We'll now move to item 5, our superintendent's report and recommendation. Terry, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm trying to do everything and I'm not doing anything well. Okay, first in my update, before I get to enrollment, I want to loop back to part of what Michelle presented about yesterday's really first foray into bringing kids back into the building. I just want to tell you that it was a pretty resounding success for us. And it was so, I mean, I could just see teachers and kids at Mills Lawn just outside walking and running, and you could just hear the excitement. I know Jack shared with me an email from a parent of a 7th grader, and it just almost made you want to cry, because she said he came home and he was all smiles, talked about he got caught up on his work, he got support, he participated in some baseball activities, and then he said, I had so much fun, I hope they let me come back next week. So, this is what we're about. We're about being in person with kids. And so it does seem odd. I know it seems odd, because as we're doing this, cases are spiking. So we had no idea that would happen when we planned this, but the teachers have been so, along with their principals, have worked so hard to come up with such thoughtful and safe plans that I feel like, it's going to be a success. If we get to a point where I feel like it's not safe, we'll stop temporarily. And parents you're not required to send your child, but it was the right move to do, and it was a success. So I didn't want to let an opportunity go by without mentioning that. And thank you to all of the teachers and support staff and principals, the custodial staff for really, really making this work. Okay, enrollment. Let me see, I'm gonna go off my report and bring up some enrollment documents for you. So this is historic enrollment since 1976, and then you see the year that open enrollment started, 1994. As you can see, our total enrollment, and this is without preschool, that's the PS. Our total enrollment this year is 685. That is down. And I'm going to say that that's all related to the pandemic. So am I certain of that? No, but I feel pretty good about saying that. And if you notice, our open enrollment is up slightly and our non-open enrollment is down. And so that's an interesting trade. But that's kind of the long view, the historical view. The next report is this one. And so what this tells you is, again, from 2010-11, fiscal year 11, through current, what our open enrollment has been by grade level. And then you can see down here below are the districts where students are coming from. Does that make sense? Okay. And you see right now we're at about, so this is we have our column and then open enrollment, resident column and open enrollment column. So for this year, we are at roughly 71% resident and open enrollment 28%. And normally we're about 75-25. So, and we are indeed under the board threshold, the policy threshold of open enrollment percentage. And finally, there's this comparison, which is much easier to read because there's not all that information. And basically for this year, here's where our kids are going and where we are getting kids from. So this is by grade. You can see Dayton Regional STEM, Global Impact STEM, etc. So, questions about this? It's just this time of year to give this report. Okay, back to my report. So I want to talk a little bit about the broadband grant that we received. So we applied for a broadband grant, basically of about, we asked for maybe 60 something, we got 32. And that was to do two things. And there were some requirements, but basically we asked for part of it for hotspots. So these are the hotspots that we're giving to our students and families so that they can access the coursework. And then we could also, one of the options was to partner with a local government to provide public Wi-Fi access points. So that's what we did. Thor Sage and Josue Salmaron from the village and I kind of worked together to put forth this grant. We were awarded less than we applied for. So what we did was proportionately, we took X amount for the hotspots and the rest went to public Wi-Fi access points. I do want to say that it's in the spring, if you remember, we worked with Maveka to add 2 access points so that one was at I think the high school going out and one around by the library to give more access. These are expensive. You know, the beautiful thing about Yellow Springs is that there's lots of green space and lots of trees. The terrible thing about Yellow Springs is that there's lots of green space and lots of trees. And so if you can't see through, you can't get access. And we have evidence of that at the start of this meeting tonight. But Thomas Young is just going to show you a map right now about where these access points are. And so we do, before he does that, we do have opportunity to apply for more, not a lot more, maybe 15 grand, 14 grand that we're going to do. We're going to apply for, so that would help that. But it truly is a collaborative effort. The village is giving money. We're giving this grant money. So I don't know if Thomas is ready to jump in here.
Yep, I'm ready, Terry.
Okay.
Do you have that map attached?
Is it on somewhere?
Should be that broadband.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
right here. Thank you.
So there's a little map here of what our plan is. So like Terry mentioned, we did put up an outside access point on, it was the Mills Lawn Conference Room, right on that exterior wall.
It's right
And-
here.
Right.
That's
and
that the
then-
one?
That's the one, correct. And then one on the side of the central office building across the street there. Those two
Right here.
went up in the spring and they're currently operating right now. They're actually linked into the school district's broadband network right now. The red lines you see on the map are signifying the fiber lines that were already in place before we started this project. So the high school feeds down here to Mills Lawn, and then the Mills Lawn feeds over to central office and to the Bryan Center. So the yellow lines there are all of the fiber infrastructure that are being put up currently to connect the access. So we'll be adding 12 access points.
Everywhere.
The locations of those access points were determined based on environmental factors, how strong our signal will be, line of sight, things like that. And the 2 that were put up in the spring will be moved off of the school's network onto a broadband network subsidized by the village. So we are currently running fiber lines downtown right now.
Thomas, could you just, so this is great, I think, but could you just give us a summary of what we're going to get out of this?
Absolutely. So this will be open, free Wi-Fi for the downtown area is kind of the phase 1 here.
Okay.
That will allow anyone to connect that would like to.
Okay.
In the second phase that, I got an email Monday that said, you can apply for more up to what your original ask was for the public Wi-Fi. I guess they have excess money. So I did. And so in talking to Thor and Josue on Monday, the plan for that would be then to expand this to hopefully feed Corey Street Apartments and maybe Hawthorne. So I am not the technical expert on broadband, so nobody wants to ask me how to do it, but that I did get out of the conversation.
Well, I mean, this is great. Yeah, if any of us actually understood what this was about, I'm sure it would be even greater. But no, I think this is really exciting. This is something, I mean, I'm sure many of you know that people have been talking about for a number of years now. And all of a sudden, after a number of years, it's going to happen. So I think this is fantastic.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, so we've already had the outdoor facilities update from Jeff. Last, I want to talk about, let me get back in here. I want to talk about the OFCC. So that is the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. And so if you remember in that time pre-COVID, March, pre-COVID, the board actually passed a resolution to work with the OFCC for their expedited local partnership program. So the ELP program allows districts who don't yet qualify for CFAP. There's all these acronyms, and CFAP is basically the classroom assistance program. If you don't qualify for that, you will qualify for the ELP program, and what that means is that you can get a certain percentage back on your any bond costs that you have if you raise 100% of the cost. And then over time, you will get that when you qualify for CFAP. So the long and the short of it is we qualify at 26%. So back in 2018, when the district was contemplating a bond issue and then went to the ballot, the percentage at that time was somewhere around, I think, 18 or 19. But if you remember in February, I think our percentage was 27, and now it is 26. So they're waiting for new numbers to get pushed out. The key for us is to go through the process where we get an approval from the controlling board. But what this means, we've signed a resolution. We have an agreement to participate. During COVID, the OFCC shut down during the summer part. They are back at work. At the end of October, we received our formal kind of you're in the program and we're going to get this started. So last week, Tammy and I met with our OFCC consultant, and we need to kind of walk through the process. And the reason why we need to start this now is that if we're looking at November of 2021 or May of 2022, we just have to start now. And so there are a lot of steps that you have to take that may seem like we already have a plan in mind and we already know where we're going, and that's really not true. It's just we have to take these steps. So that's what this is, and the recommendation of the OFCC is that we work with a pre-bond architect to come up with a master facilities plan, because that is the first step. So we have taken the steps to do that. I did meet last week with two residents and Laura Curlis, as was mentioned in the comments. And I feel like I had a great conversation with them. And so my conversation, in my conversation, I said the same thing that I've said all last year when I was having coffees and going to the homes of folks in the village. And that is, we need new facilities. I wasn't here in 2018, but I'm trying to get a handle on what happened. And I think the strong message was the cost was too much. Well, I can't change the cost of buildings myself, but there may be things that we can do to mitigate those costs, right? We know perhaps we don't need two campuses because that costs money. And if we don't have two campuses, then we have a piece of property that we can do something with. What I told these residents, I appreciate their love of Mills Lawn Green Space. I'm not sure that there's anyone who doesn't love it. And I clearly see from my office that it is used. But as of right now, that piece of property is not for sale. But certainly it would be in the mix like anything else as we plan. So I think as I work with the treasurer and the board to think about how might we get facilities for our students that are renovated or new, and that's a whole different discussion. I have to think of ways to also be sensitive to other things, namely cost. So I appreciated their reaching out and meeting with me, and I told them that our goal is to be collaborative and open. And if anybody knows me, I'm going to tell you what I think. And you'll never not know where I stand on something. So this ball is rolling with the OFCC. Questions about that?
Well, I just want to say I'm really delighted that they're back up and running in Columbus. I mean, it really felt like the plug got pulled on us. Mm-hmm. In mid-stride when everything had to shut down. And there was a point at which I think over the summer, it wasn't even clear when they were going to get back up and running. And we were sort of in this limbo area. And so that's great that they're working again, that you had an initial meeting. And and just to reiterate what you've already said, these are necessary first steps. They do not dictate an outcome. But in order for there to be any outcome, we have to start with these steps first. So I just want to say once again, the board does not have a plan in specific, but you're quite right. We are thinking of ways that we can get adequate facilities for our students and staff, and at the lowest cost to our taxpayers and to the residents of the village. That's the needle we are trying to thread, and whichever way we can thread it, that's the way we'll go.
Yeah. Okay.
Other questions about any of the report here? Okay. Then let us move to the administrative portion of the consent calendar, and these are items 6.1 through 7 or 8?
It's 6.1 through
6.8. Motion, please.
So moved.
Do we get a second on that?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. Discussion, Terry?
I just want to highlight a couple things. There is a school nurse job description. That is an update from the last one, which was done in 2009. So that was
about time.
That was necessary. I did give you a list of school fees. In the past, the buildings have done this in their handbook. It's my preference to pull these out, and in the spring, prior to the next year, I'll ask the board to approve fees. So that's what these are. School fees for each building. We do have an MOU for our work with Community Foundation for YS Giving Tuesday, which is December 1st. So everybody can remember.
Put it on your calendar.
And an MOU for evaluation, as we're still kind of not in our typical environment for teaching. So that's similar to the MOU in the spring. And then most important, I think, are honors, recognitions, and gifts. So I want to make sure that I read this publicly, and that I ask the board to accept the donations with gratitude from the Yellow Springs Library Association. They generously donated a large quantity of books. The $1,500 donation from senior Kayla Ross and her capstone project for her masks. And then a donation of approximately 1,000 gift cards for a free 4-piece chicken McNugget at participating local McDonald's. So We believe in
Excellent.
healthy food, but every now and then you got to have a chicken McNugget, I think. So,
Well said.
and that is it.
Great. Questions about any of those items? Okay, let's call the roll on that, please.
Ellison. You're muted, Sylvia.
Yeah, I'm having button problems. I'm sorry. Yes.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner. You kind of blinked out there, TJ.
Yes.
Thank you. Khan,
Yes.
Mayor Hemick.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll go on to item 7, and that's the personnel portion of our consent calendar. Stephanie, if you could scroll that down, please.
That's me.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
And that's
This
fine.
this is why I don't do this normally.
Right. Well, we'll make sure you don't ever do it again. And that's just one item, 7.1 personnel schedules. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
So, board, I ask that you accept the personnel schedules as presented.
Good.
Relatively small and typical.
Questions? Call the roll, please.
McQueen,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
Mayor Hemick,
Yes.
Ellison.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for all of that business. We'll go now to item 8, and that's our board communications. And we always start with our friends down now in Xenia, the Greene County Career Center report.
Okay. Yes, we had our meeting yesterday, and we also went over the Handle with Care. And for the Career Center, it's really important because without having the sort of small town aspect that, usually would somehow reach, a parent would call on behalf or something along those lines. The Career Center doesn't have that. So Handle with Care is extremely important on our end. So we're really happy that a lot of schools got involved because that allows for them to reach out to the Career Center as well. So the Handle with Care was really needed for the Career Center. Couple scheduled things, seniors for the first time, if they actually have met all their requirements, are able to actually leave a bit earlier. That way the building isn't as congested. It's not many, but anything can help. And so they also changed the scheduling. They basically had to. Periods are doubled up. They'll be sending this out really soon, I'm sure, for whoever needs it. Of course, you can contact me if you need to see what the new schedule looks like. But basically, to keep kids sort of in the same, students, in the same areas for longer periods of time, they're sort of doubling up periods together and keeping it so that everyone sort of stays in a section. They've even talked about for the cafeteria, only half of it is used while the other half is being cleaned, and then the second half comes in, and while the second half cleans or eats, the other side gets cleaned. It's a lot of work to have to work it out there. And we're definitely doing a half hybrid situation there. And it's still very difficult for a Career Center that basically the main reason you're there is to do something that's hands-on. So it's a very difficult decision for the board, administration, teachers. This is sort of everyone's sort of working to just still try to make sure that the students can get their certifications. So like that's sort of like the forefront of the thinking of why the attendance is important for the Career Center. And that's basically for the Career Center itself. Yeah, like doing okay. We're still now looking into selling the old building. So that's basically the next step there. There's interest there. And so that's being worked on. When we have a part like this, board communications, but every board gets to speak about what they're doing, and everywhere else has had a lot of cases. It's sort of it was interesting how they were talking about it. They were very nonchalant, but certain places were in the hundreds, and it's just sort of like, oh, as to how many were quarantine actual cases, it was lower than that. But the quarantining happens so much, it stops a lot of the process, especially when teachers are gone. And it definitely doesn't make a substitute want to rush in. So the other schools are definitely having like several issues with some going full time, but even hybrid is having a massive issue with with the concept of quarantining, even if something is brought up or talked about. It's a very difficult situation, but it was interesting to hear talk about it because it's very nonchalant. It just doesn't seem to really factor in the surrounding schools. I have to say I was a little disappointed in that, a little upset by that, but that's their decision and it's what they're doing. But it was disappointing, I guess, to say the least. And now there's issues with bus drivers in some of these places because of how many cases are going up. So I do feel like we've avoided a lot of issues that other places are having, but not publicly talking about as much. There are definitely some issues happening, and it was nice to talk about Yellow Springs having its issues, but no cases to report. So I just feel like that was a win on our hand, on our side. So that concludes my report from the Greene County Career Center.
Thank you, sir.
If there's any questions, yeah.
Yeah, anything for Steve about the Career Center? Yeah, well, I mean, you said it, Steve, at a place where the whole purpose is to be hands-on, you know, this has just got to be an unbelievable challenge to do that, deliver that education for those kids. So we'll go to item 8.2, other board member items. I want to start off with one reminder, and that is that when we get towards the end of the calendar year, this is the time when we reassess our board leadership positions. We certainly don't have to do anything about that this evening, but I just want to put out there that our president, vice president, treasurer pro tem assignments, we will redo those at our January meeting. So just start to think about what that might look like, board, coming up in the next several weeks. Other board member items? Well, let's have a motion to adjourn then.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Just in terms of other board member items, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm having pretty unstable internet service here, but just a reminder about our board work session.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, Terry, I know that there was a schedule and then a reschedule. Can you just confirm when our work session will be?
Saturday, November 21st. I believe the time is 9.
Okay. And this will be a work session to continue the discussion on how we proceed with our facilities. Just as a reminder to anybody listening, work sessions are really just time for the board to discuss. There's nothing that gets voted on. There are no actions that are taken. It's an opportunity for us to get together as a group just to hash things out. And that's what we'll do. I don't think we've decided yet exactly how we're going to host that meeting, so stay tuned for that in the next several days once we make some decisions about that.
Correct.
All right, how about now a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, thank you all very much for this meeting. We covered a lot of ground. It was terrific. I just want to emphasize again, it was really wonderful to have a Schools in Action report again to remind us why it is we actually do what we're doing. It's not actually to manage a virus. It's to see students like Kayla do what they do. So we did a lot of work tonight, and thank you all very much.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.